Hey there, Heather here. So today we are going to be working on this adorable Sweet November image by CC Designs called Adele. Isn't she cute? Very adorable. I will put a link down in the description box to the card kit and all the supplies I use. I would love for you to come shopping with me. Also, if you could hit the like button so I know you like the video, that would be wonderful. And if you're not a subscriber, go ahead and do that so that you get an update every time I load a new video. So I've already stamped my image on Nina 80-pound solar white cardstock with Memento Tuxedo black ink. So let's color. So let's start out by outlining our image. So I'm going to go, this little mouse right here is going to be, on your image you got a separate, in your card kit you get a separate piece. You're going to stamp him separate and then cut him out, and then he's popped up on the front of your card. So I'm going to start my outlining on this little handle. And I'm just going to go around my girl. All the way around to the other side. And just give her a little bit of a shadow so it looks like she's not so flat and popping up off of the paper. And work our way down to the other side. And if you do it first too, you don't have to worry. If you get some on her, you can use your colorless blender to erase it. So like that. And that was C0. I can't remember if I said that or not. Now let's give her something to stand on. For that we're going to use W3, W2, and W1. And I'm just going to give her a little bit of a shadow. And I'm going to go with W2. And then W1. And then I like to go back with my darkest color, which was W3, and just add a little bit more contrast in. Now let's work on her skin, and for that we're going to use E11, E21, and E00. Let's start down here on her leg. I'm going to go underneath of her skirt and then a little dab down beside where her leg is touching this other leg. And then again this side will go under her skirt and then down the inside or the front side of her leg. Then I'm going to grab E21, turn her a little bit here, and I'm going to touch down on top of my E11 and I'm going to flick away from that color and bring it out here into my white. I'm going to make her ankle here a little bit, give it a little bit of a crease. Next I'm going to go E00. I'm going to fill that in. But I also like to go over my previous two colors just to soften the edge and blend them a little bit better. And we'll move up here to her arm. So again, I'm going to grab E11. Let's go on this side, let's do underneath the first sleeve and down the back of her arm. And this one, same thing, we'll go under her sleeve and the back of her arm, and I'm going to give her wrist there a little bit of a swoop in. And then I'm going to do a little dab on each of these little fingers. And then I'm going to grab E21. I'm going to brush a little bit of that on. Brush a little bit more over here. And then we want to fill it in with our E00. Just pull that all the way across, soften my line a little bit better. And then she's got just a little bit of her neck showing up here underneath of her bun. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of my E11 on both sides, a little bit under her bun, and then E21, and then E00 to go across the entire thing. For her hair, I'm going to use E44 and 43, and she doesn't have much showing there, but I'm going to do a little bit of my E44 underneath her hat band, and then a little bit just along the edge of the bottom, and then I'm going to take E43 and fill it all the way in. So nothing too technical there. There's not much space in there to fill that in. Next, let's work on her apron, this ribbon, and her hat. For that, we're going to use G82, G43, and YG61. I'm going to start with my G82 down here on her apron. She's got a little bit peeking out on the other side of her dress, so I'm going to do a little dab right next to where her dress is touching. Same over here. Here's a little bit of apron, or pinafore on the front. And then let's do our bow. Inside. Come down the bottom side. And then over here we'll do the inside. We'll do a little bit for this bow. Get those little swirls she's got going. Next I'm going to grab G43. There's not much space there, so I'm just trying to kind of go over the previous line and then go out a little bit more into the white there. And then I want to fill it in with my YG61. Cute little bow. And we're going to pop up here and do her hat. So again, I'm going to start with G82. Now let's start up here on the top of her hat. So I'm just going to touch my pin down and flick away from this little band. So I've got a darker at the bottom, and as my hand pulls up, it gets lighter out here towards the edge. I'm going to grab G82. I'm going to touch down on top of my last color, and again, flick away from that. And work my way all the way across. And I think I'll go back just one more time, just to soften that just a little bit more. And then YG61 to fill it in. And then I go back a second time. And then I want to go up here to the top and fill in this little section. Okay, and then for the hat band, I want to use G82. So I'm going to start with my color down here at the bottom for the brim of my hat. Just going to, again, work my way along the edge. Flicking up towards the center. That, and then I want to add a little bit up here next to her hat, the top of her hat. So I'm going to take a little line and go right around the edge here. Then I'm going to grab G43, and we want to add a little bit more color down here. So we're going to touch down on top of our last color, and flick up into our white. And then I want to soften this edge on this line up here. So I'm just going to go over the top of it and add a little bit more on my white side. And then I want to fill it in with my YG61. So now I'm going to lay down my pen, clear down here, and go over all three colors, or the last two colors, sorry. I'm going to pull that up here into my white section. And then we want to soften this line up here. And let's fill in this extra white section here. So I'm going to again go over it, clear from the bottom up to the top, and just fill in that white. Now let's do her hat band and her little dress. For that we're going to use V17, V15, V04, and V12. I'm going to start with my V17 up here on her hat band. And I want to add a little bit of that here on the edges. And same for this edge. And I'm going to grab V15. And then V04. And this one's got a little bit more pink to it, so I'm going to bring it clear from the edge so I can get it over, get some pink added to this, the last two colors. And I'm going to fill it in with my V12. And we're going to go down here and do her dress. So again, I'm going to grab V17 to start. And let's do the edge. Her sleeves, I'm going to make the sleeves a different color. So we're going to do the bodice here. So let's do a little bit. And I'm going to use just the tip of my pen to go down the edge of her dress and meet up with that bow. Same for this side. And then I'm going to grab V15. Add a little bit more color on there. Soften that edge. V04. And V12 to fill that in. And we'll hop down here and do her skirt. So again, I'm going to grab V17, but I want to add a few little wrinkles in here. So let's start on the one that's already here, this little one right here. And I'm going to turn her here so I can see it a little, flick a little bit better. And I'm going to bring my color out away from this line. And then make it smaller and go right up to the edge there. I think I'll bring it out just a little bit more. Like that. And then I also want to do a little bit of a line coming down off of this bow. So I'm just going to take my pen and I'm just going to use the tip. And I'm going to come down like that and give it a little bit of a wrinkle. And then let's give it another wrinkle over here coming off of underneath this section of the bow. So I'm just going to draw one on here. And I'm trying to just be very careful because every time your pen touches down, you're using ink. And I don't want too much on there. And then I'm going to put one right here where this bow is touching. So let's go down here But I want this one to come out a little bit, so I'm going to swoop this out a little bit further. And I'm going to give another one right here. Like that. And then let's go with V15. So I want to add on top of that color. So I'm going to come down next to this. I'm going to come right down that line I already drew on there. Like that. But I also want to add a little bit of shadow up here underneath this bow. So I'm going to go ahead and go right down next to that. And same for this one. We want to go right down that line. Go down this bow. And then for these, we want to again go over those. So we need to soften that color. And this one, I'm going to keep my color for this one over on this side. Then I'm going to grab VO4, and I want to go back. Remember, this one's a pink one, so I want to go back over all those other colors. But I want to add to it, so we're going to make some more pink. Being careful not to get any on my green bow there. And just work our way around the side here. And I think I'm going to bring this color from this one over this way just a little bit more. And for this one over here, that. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to go with my V12 to fill it in. I'm just going to put the color down now and then come back and kind of work those lines a little bit more. Turn my girl here a little bit. And when I use my pen again to go over just the edges of some of these lines, like right here, I can really see the difference. So I'm just going to brush over that a couple times. Next, let's do her shirt. For that, we're going to use G00 and G000. I'm going to start with my G00. And let's go up here and add a little bit to our collar that's showing through. And then I want to do inside of her sleeve. So I'm going to go inside. And then for her sleeves, I'm going to brush away from the edge of her dress and flick that color out here onto her sleeve. Same for this side. I want to flick away from my purple dress and add some color to the sleeve. And then I'm going to take G000 to fill that in. So let's fill in her collar. And down here. Now let's do her shoes, the wheels on her little mouse here and the handle. For that we're going to use C7, C5, C3, and C1. I'm going to start with her shoes with C7. Let's do a little dab on the bottom of this one, and then along the sole of this side. And then I want to do the bottom of this one right here. I'm going to brush up a little bit more on this one. And then I'm going to go with C5. And I'm just going to dab a little bit of that color on. And then C3. I'm going to fill in this back shoe. And then C1 to fill the rest of her shoe in. Next, let's go over here and do the little handle. So I'm going to again grab C7, and let's do a little dab right next to her hand. And then I'm going to go down underneath of her hand and then down the inside of the handle. And then next we'll do C5. C3. And then C1 to fill that the rest of the way in. We're going to hop down here and do the wheels on our little shell cart here. And remember, on yours is going to be on a separate piece of paper and you're going to cut it out. But we're going to start with C7. Go right along the bottom there. Just do a little dab on each side of my wheel. Same for this one. Let's go right along the bottom. And then the top and bottom of each of the wheels. Next is C5. Add some more color. And C3. And then C1. Next, let's work on the shell. For that, we're going to use E37, 35, 34, 31, and 30. I'm going to start with my E37. And let's give that a little dab up here behind the little mouse's head. And then I want to come down around the edge of his shell. Same for this side. Down around the edge of that shell. And then I want to go underneath the shell rim. And I want to do each one of these little lines. So for this side, we're going to go underneath of the shell rim. And then we're going to go underneath these, on each of these little lines. And then I also want to do this inside up here where the mouse is at. Next I'm going to grab E35. So I'm going to add a little bit more color up here. Bring that color from my mouse at the rim up here. Same for this. Go right along the edge. Go underneath of his paw. Connect over here in the front. fill in more of the inside of his shell. Just work our way around. Next we'll grab E34. Adding a little bit more color. And then I think in here I'm just going to use this to fill this inside part in, because I want that to be darker than the rest. Oops. And here, add some color down here. Go around the bottom here of this shell right here. Next, we'll grab E31. Let's fill in this little section up here. I'm running out of room. Let's add some more color. And then I'm going to take the E30 and go over the entire thing. So even though I filled that all the way in, I still want to take my E30 and brush over it just to soften my lines. For a mouse, let's use V20, E42, and E41 for his body. For his ears, I'm going to use R20 and R30, and for his nose, I'm going to use C10. So I'm going to start with my V20 and add a little bit of shadows on my little mouse here. So let's do the bottom of his paws, and a little bit underneath of his chin, and then from his face, I'm going to brush up. And then I'm going to give it a little dab of color coming down. Now we're going to have E42. So again, I'm going to go right over the top of that last color. That was just, the V20 was just to add a little bit of darkness in there. And then we'll do his face. I'm going to bring my color up into my white. I'm going to go past where I laid the V20 and bring my E42 up a little bit higher. Same with this. I'm going to go past the V20 and come down into my white. And next I'm going to go with E41 to fill that rest of his face in. So I'm going to come around to his ear, up here where he's got that little line, I'm going to stop there, and then down here in his face, we're just going to brush into this white. You can go right over his nose if you wanted, since we're going to color it with the C10, and it would fill it, the rest of it would just cover that right up. Like that. That looks good. For his ears, I'm going to go with R20 first, and I'm going to brush up here from the top of his ear, and then up here, and then I'm going to fill it in with R30. And then we're going to take C10 and just give his nose a little dab of color. If you don't use your markers much, I hardly use this one. You might want to remove the other end just so it doesn't blob on there and make a big old mess since you're almost done. So there is our Adele all colored up. Isn't she pretty? And again, here is the finished card. So remember, your little piece, you're going to stamp your girl on here, and a little bit of your mouse is going to be on your little square piece. And then you're going to re-stamp your mouse so that he can be popped up on some pop dots. And also, before I attached him, I took a dark marker and colored in around the edges of my mouse underneath so that you couldn't, when you look down inside, you couldn't see the mouse in there. So that kind of helped. Then my little twine here, I took some glue dots and stuck it on the back of my buttons, and then when I put the string through, I just stuck it to the glue so that it would stick down. So I hope you had fun coloring with me today. If you have a question, leave me a comment and I will get back to you. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.